the Minnesota Timberwolves close out the LA Lakers. It is not Lakers in 5. It is instead Wolves in 5. They did this in spite of the fact that they had one of the worst three-point shooting performances in NBA history. Coming into this game, Logan, all teams in NBA history combined, when attempting 40 or more threes and making fewer than 15% of them, were 0-9. So you have to think about that. It only had happened 9 times. It's such a rare combination of that sort of volume with that poor efficiency from beyond the arc. And they were losing by an average of 20 plus points per game, these previous teams, and Minnesota wins anyways. How did they get that done? And what does this game say to you about the Timberwolves? We can start there.
They're better. Fuck. I mean,
that's for sure.
I'm so mad at the Lakers, man. The lazy ass fucking Lakers. We'll get to them in a minute, but Rudy Gobert was the star of the show tonight. No Rudy Gobert disrespect will be tolerated after tonight. He dominated this game. They said it all over the broadcast throughout it, but it's his first 20-piece in the playoffs since Utah. It's his first ever. I mean, just what a monumental game for him. He was grabbing every single board, and that's what I was confused about, man. I didn't know if it was a smart call for the Lakers to go so small throughout this game because it was such a glaring mismatch, and they just got dominated in that facet. And so you're talking about the outlier three-point shooting that we got from Minnesota and how bad they were, Carson. How do you circumvent that? How do you overcome super poor three-point shooting? You kick the other team's ass on the glass, and that's exactly what Gobert did in this game. And not only that, Gobert dominated offensively on the interior too. Putbacks. There's just nobody with enough size to slow him down, and so he feasted in this game. The other big thing, I just thought the Lakers came out flat. How do you come out flat in a game where you're at home, down 3-1, and it's like I'm getting apathetic effort. I'm getting nothing to slow down the Timberwolves or to provide any resistance. Guys are just getting cooked. I'm just disappointed, man. I just cannot. That is the definition of going out sad.
Oh, yeah.
What we just got from LA. And then the theme of this game and the theme of this entire series, the Lakers got completely outplayed down the stretch. In the fourth quarter, they got dogged. Coming into this game, they mentioned it on the broadcast, the Wolves were plus 36 in the fourth quarter. It's the most important quarter, man. You got to play your best basketball when the game's on the line. And for the most part, it had been Anthony Edwards leading the charge and getting this team across the finish line. In this one, it's pretty much Gobert and Randall putting in a lot of work. And I thought it was a really disappointing game from the Lakers effort-wise too. But the big three, I thought, just shit their pants in this game. Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves deserves to be on like an island, banished, all alone, by himself, ostracized, away from society. Like, Luka and LeBron are over here, and they're disappointing. But Austin Reeves deserves to be banished from LA for his performance in this series and in this game. What a colossal fucking disappointment, Carson. Like, I'm not a Lakers fan, but that was embarrassing, dude. And to go out in 5 games, sad. Sorry, ass Lakers.
Humiliating and pathetic. And I want to start by giving credit to the Wolves because I want to be clear. They're the better basketball team. That much is very clear. And I think that they are a great basketball team. And I have been kicking myself for being too low on them coming into the playoffs. Frankly, I think part of it was just an unfair amount of skepticism of Julius Randle, who has played really good basketball in this series, has been very clean and efficient and smart as a mismatch attacker, hasn't been a ball stopper, has moved the ball well. He's done everything right. And I think that I was too critical and had too much doubt about him in a playoff setting. Because outside of that, like the Timberwolves check so many boxes for a deep playoff run in today's game. They have top 5 depth in the sport. I think the only teams that have superior depth would be the 3 teams that have been like in a different tier than anybody else this entire season. That being, of course, the Thunder, the Celtics, and the Cavs. Outside of that, The Timberwolves 3 through 9 is as good as it gets, and their lineup versatility is as good as it gets. So this is a huge advantage of theirs that we've seen materialize time and again throughout this series. Gobert struggling offensively in game 4, great. We close with Naz Reid, and he's a weapon. Mike Conley is struggling, great. We close with Dante DiVincenzo. He's an elite shooter, and he's so disruptive defensively. Like, they have so many different lineups with which they can beat you. They have so many different reliable contributors, and then you have Ant, who was playing at an extremely high level in their first 3 wins, was not good at all tonight, but they still have a good enough collective supporting cast that they win this one. So they're really, really good. And I think that they showed that in this series. Like, they were just absolutely the better basketball team.
Bro, like you said, shout out to Julius Randle, man. I'm so impressed with Julius. I have been really negative about Julius Randle for a long time. I think he'd earned it. I think it was warranted. But midway through this season, Julius made a commitment to playing a different style and brand of basketball, making a commitment to not be as much of a black hole and playing smart. And I'm proud of him, man. This is player growth. This is character development. This is real tangible growth, man. And I think he works here. And this was a really impressive game and series for Julius. And as someone who has been a Julius Randle pessimist, I got to give him his props as well, man, because it was. I think I'm encouraged by this, and I hope that Julius has turned over a new leaf moving forward. He played winning basketball in this series, man.
I'm also so happy that Gobert was so utterly dominant in this game. And I mean, he was fantastic, like just consistently good as a finisher and absolutely dominant on the offensive glass. 9 offensive boards, 24 rebounds in total, like with obviously his elite defensive contributions, but he damn near single-handedly won them this game. Randle absolutely deserves his credit as well for still being an efficient offensive contributor in this game, and especially down the clutch, really isolating matchups that he liked and winning them a couple extra possessions on the offensive glass. But like, even though Minnesota is clearly the better team, you are not supposed to be able to win a game when you shoot this poorly from beyond the arc. And in the first half, I was like, the Wolves should be up 20 something, man. They shot 80% on 2-pointers in the first half, and they had 10 offensive boards, and every look they were getting from 3 basically was wide open. Like, the Lakers were doubling Ant even more aggressively than they have in any of the previous games, and they're getting great look after great look. They just literally couldn't make anything. Like, it's a freak outlier bad shooting performance. This is like if the Rockets won the game when they missed 27 straight threes, man. The Wolves missed 18 straight threes, and there was never a stretch where they were on from deep. So that's the only thing that gave the Lakers a chance. And for them to still not be able to cash in and win this one game, they still would have gone down because the Wolves are just better. But to not escape when the opposing team has a historically awful 3-point shooting performance, when Anthony Edwards goes 5 of 19, I just think that's a disgrace. And I think it speaks to the fact that this Lakers team is thoroughly mediocre. And that has honestly been the case since they got Luka Doncic. I mean, they've had some really high highs. They had their win streak. They had a big win over OKC. I'm just so mad at myself for buying into this team as being anything more than a first-round exit, because when they first got Luka, man, I said, I think they're going to be like the 6th or 7th best team in the West. I highlighted all of the red flags. Luka not playing at the same level, them having no playable bigs, their complete lack of lineup versatility, lack of depth, horrible defensive backcourt, lack of rim protection. All of these things I laid out. And then I don't know what the fuck happened, man. Like, they had some really good performances.
Started drinking that Kool-Aid. Me too, brother. Me too.
I think I got a little bit too impressed by a couple of really impressive individual performances. And there was so much mediocre basketball in between that. And I knew it. After the Luka trade, man, they were 14th in offensive rating and 17th in defensive rating. I think they had a negative net rating with their big 3 on the floor together. Like, all of the points were there. And still, we just have this idea, man. Well, I'll speak for myself, that like superstars can overcome so much, and they have so much shooting, and they've shown the flashes defensively. And you're like, if they can just really execute on both ends, they can still reach a ceiling that we've seen in moments. But the moments were way too few and far between, and Minnesota had way too many ways to expose their shortcomings, having to help so aggressively, having to double so often, not being able to consistently rebound on the defensive end. All of that stuff was a major problem in this series, and it's not a surprise. It shouldn't have been a surprise, at least.
It's not. I'm upset at myself, too, not for just taking the Lakers outright, because I think the Bucks had a real I think the Wolves had a really significant flaw that I noted coming into this, and it was their clutch offense. And I think I had a valid reason to be skeptical about this team in general. What I'm really mad about is what you're talking about, is their matchup specifically against the Lakers, because a lot of the keys that I said went in the Wolves' favor, and me and Carson were very close in this series. Like, we didn't think the Wolves were, like, going to get drubbed by the Lakers.
No,
I said Lakers
in 7. It was going to be a super close series.
You said...
But the Wolves were just better, just flat out better.
They are. And the couple biggest things that I'm mad about, one is the Anthony Edwards component. I'm mad at myself for thinking that the Lakers had anybody that could check him and not giving enough credence to him and his ability and all the defensive attention he was going to draw in this series. And, like, damn, man, it's like I've been the biggest fucking Ant guy on the planet for so long, and even I was like, oh, man, give me Luka and LeBron. So I'm mad at that I didn't see Ant having a great series incoming, because I should have. But bigger than that, just their defense, the rim protection, the size aspect of it, the fact that the Wolves have so many big, nasty SOBs that can bang and rebound. And that's the area where I'm really upset with myself. If there's anything that the Wolves have proven that they are over the past couple years, is that they're tough. That they're going to fucking throw haymakers at you every game, and if they're not going back down. And if there's one thing that the Lakers have proven in their identity, it's that they're soft as Charmin. It's toilet paper. And that's the real aspect that I'm mad at myself for not recognizing, is that the Wolves ain't going to fold. The Wolves are tough. They're going to battle. They're going to fight, and they've got depth. And the Lakers are soft and short. And I drink that damn Kool-Aid. The guy that I'm really angriest about is Luka. But we can save that if you've got more stuff on the Wolves. I think that's the next biggest thing to talk about, though.
Like, I want to give props to the Wolves for what they did in this series, what I think they're capable of doing going forward, most likely in a matchup against the Warriors. Like, absolutely great basketball team. This game, though, says so much more about the Lakers. Like, Rudy was great. Randall was really good. You're not supposed to be able to win a game when the opposing team misses 43-pointers and makes 7. And that's where I think I talked about a lot of, like, the core issues with the Lakers roster construction, some of the really big red flags that were there and that I talked myself into overlooking just because, well, they have a couple superpowers. But guess what, man? Those superpowers didn't come through. Where was the best offensive big three in basketball? Didn't see them in this series. Austin Reeves was abominable. He was so bad on both ends of the floor in this entire series. Like, he is incapable of getting by any of Minnesota's perimeter defenders. He was incapable of punishing switches. You see it. Even in this game, there's a possession where he actually creates a little space on a step back versus Rudy. He won't even take the shot. He just passes out of it. His confidence was destroyed, but against a team that is this big, that is this athletic, and that is this physical, like, he just doesn't have the ability to get by people. He doesn't have the burst. I thought that his ball security was horrible against that kind of ball pressure. So many terrible turnovers in this series. And then defensively, he's getting targeted over and over again. And in this game, like, he couldn't even make a wide open 3. That's the one thing that you expect to be reliable with him, is that elite shooting, at least off the catch. And he had none of it going. So he was bad in a way that I think, like, really jeopardizes his future with this team. It was that concerning of a series. But this is inexcusable stuff from Luka Doncic, who was just horrible in fourth quarters end to end this series. We talked about it coming into this game. He was averaging 5 points per game on 29% shooting in fourth quarters. Just dreadful. And was an abomination defensively the entire time. Like, the number of blow-bys that he allowed in this series is an embarrassment. The number of times that he was targeted by Anthony Edwards or by Julius Randle, and they're getting past him, or they're getting deep into the paint and they're drawing help and they're creating a shot for somebody else. Like, Reeves and Luka single-handedly, or I guess together, made the Lakers defense untenable because of how easy it was to consistently exploit them on that side of the ball. And then what Luka gives you offensively in this series is just not nearly good enough to justify that. Like, he ends up being terrible in fourth quarters. He gets his 30 a game on solid efficiency, but in the big moments wasn't good enough. The conditioning wasn't good enough. And I think that both he and LeBron should be really, really embarrassed with their effort in key moments. Their inability to get a body on Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle down the stretch of this game felt like they didn't care about winning. Like, it was that level of poor effort in the fourth quarter of a do or die game.
It's simple shit. It's putting a body in boxing. Like, it's
like, dude, Rudy obviously has a huge size advantage. Some of these offensive rebounds are uncontested. He is not getting boxed out whatsoever.
And that's what I really don't understand, is because you figured that would be a point of emphasis for JJ coming into this game. Their starting five in this game is Hachimura and DFS. You know, they're not running a big. Yeah. It's like, you can win like that. But the way to win it is all 4 or 5 guys have got to make a commitment to boxing and battling on the glass. That's the only way you overcome something like that. And, man, like you said, Lakers look like they couldn't care less down the stretch.
Yeah, and also I have to say, Luka definitely was not good enough for them to win this series, but their formula had to be basically, we're going to have the 2 best players on the floor, or at least our 2 guys are going to both play at a consistent superstar top 10 level, and neither of them did. I thought that LeBron was really good in games 3 and 4, but in game 1, he was just floating through that one. They needed more out of him if they were going to win it. In this game, like, he has some nice moments where the intensity is there and he makes some really nice cuts, but it's just very illuminating to me how little LeBron is comfortable of, or was comfortable in this series, just like initiating offense for you for an extended stretch. Like, that phase where LeBron took over never happened. And it was always just sort of him picking his spots, him really relying on the jumpers. And that just meant that he wasn't reliably great enough offensively for them to win this series. So there's so many ways in which the Lakers just weren't good enough. And still, like, they had their chances in games 3 through 5. They were in the clutch in all of these, and they were out executed in the clutch in all of them.
Every single one of them. I'm seeing some ridiculous takes in the chat right now. I'm going to be honest, y'all.
Okay.
Nico Harrison was not right. Like, you never do that trade. It is still moronic. It is still idiotic. The difference between the Lakers and the Mavericks, or the Mavericks were a championship contender at full health with Luka Doncic. And I was just wrong on the Lakers. Like, I'm going to keep it 100p. I thought they could go deeper than this. I didn't think they were championship contenders, but I thought they were definitely conference finals. Mm-hmm. But this roster is way worse. And Nico's not right. What I will say is that Luka's got to be way better. And I think this offseason, Luka has to make a commitment to getting into shape, to getting his conditioning better, and making a commitment to just trying. It is really concerning that in back-to-back playoffs, it is a track record now of you not caring at all on that end. And I'm
Two of the most shameful defensive performances I've ever seen from a superstar. The finals last year in this entire series, the number of times that Jaden McDaniels just blew by him.
And it's like
disgraceful.
And there's a difference, right? Because Luka does not have the physicals to be a really high-level impactful defender, right? He's got real limitations. He's slow-footed. That's his biggest limitation, right? Is he's just slow. But you can mitigate that with effort. I don't even see him trying, man. Like, defense is...
Yeah, we know he can be passable. We've seen stretches where he's passable because he's got good hands and he can move his feet decently well, and he's strong, so when he can stay in front of you, he can be kind of physical. Like, yeah, he's always going to be a below-average defender, but this was disgraceful defense. And it's the second straight playoff series when he is by so far the worst defensive player on the floor, and a weak point who is getting attacked and exploited over and over again and compromising his team on that end to the point where it's like, you're not giving me all around superstar impact. The last 2 playoff series we've seen from Luka Doncic, that's not superstar impact. When you are that destructive to your team's defense and you're not giving me the 2021 versus the Clippers kind of Luka production. You're not giving me last year regular season Luka production that you need to offset that to where I'm still like, okay, yeah, you're playing like one of the handful of best players on the planet. Like, he just didn't do that in this series, and he didn't do that this year with the Lakers, man. 28, 8-7 on 59% true shooting. I've been talking about these issues with him for a long time, and some people like looked at me like I was crazy. Like, it doesn't matter that he's not getting by people, that he's not getting to the rim and finishing at the rim in nearly the same rate that he was years ago. And it does matter. Yeah.
Are you comfortable putting Tatum over Luka?
Tatum's a hell of a lot better at basketball right now than Luka. Like, this year, it is not a conversation. So the only argument for having Luka above him is just the benefit of the doubt. Just like being someone who's saying, I know what Luka is capable of at his best, what he was last year and in the previous couple seasons. I'm not inclined to give the benefit of the doubt, though, to a guy who like just doesn't seem to take basketball seriously enough. And like, that's what this series is, man. The box out stuff, it's embarrassing. It is embarrassing with your season on the line.
It's petulant almost. It's like a child where it's like, I'm so good on offense, I don't even need to, like, what's the point? I'm here to serve buckets. And it's like, that's not a championship mentality, man. And the biggest thing to me is that this year you can really isolate it because, like, it was a horrendous defensive series in the finals last year. And I was willing to give Luka somewhat of a pass because of the laundry list of injuries he was dealing with in that series. I was like, you know what? It was really bad. It was really ugly. But, all right, I'll give him a pass. And even then in that run, the Mavericks had such a good defense behind him that you could limit how good Luka needed to be. In this situation, that's completely different. Like, not that the Lakers don't have any good defenders. They've got some, but it's a way worse defensive situation where it's more important that everybody does their part and pulls their weight. And he just didn't do that at all this offseason. So I need to see a mentality change. And it's concerning to me too, Carson, because it's like the Lakers have kind of had this as a part of their identity, even pre-Luka. You know what I mean? Not giving full effort, not giving a fuck, it's got to be different. And so, like, don't get me wrong. The Lakers do that trade 100 times out of 100. They have given themselves life for a decade into the future because you have acquired a guy like Luka Doncic. And there's going to take a lot. There's going to be a major, major roster overhaul this offseason. And I would be comfortable with moving off of Austin Reeves. One, just because I think we have seen some of the potential playoff limitations with him. But more importantly, because if Luka is going to be this bad defensively, I'm willing to sacrifice the offensive firepower that Reeves gives me to get a 3-and-D guard or someone that fits better in this team system. You got to get a big man. You've got to improve the depth. There's a lot of roster movement that's going to happen here, and I think it's going to make the team better. But to get this team where it needs to go, Luka's got to be better defensively. He's got to be in shape, and I really want to see him make a commitment to that this offseason because that's where the work is going to be established. It's not playing yourself into shape in the regular season. It's going to be this offseason getting into shape so when the regular season kicks off, you're good to go to give me all 82, man. And that's what I need to see, man. Luka's dropping for me in my player rankings, man. And I don't know. Ant's ascending, Luka's dropping. What a complete fucking disaster, man.
It is so rare to see a season that is this bad end to end from a 26-year-old who I have considered like one of the all-time great offensive talents that we've seen and one of the clearly top 4 players of the last 5 years. For him to have a season where he is this consistently below the level that we know he's been capable of in years past with like just a few exceptions, that's so, so bad. And if he doesn't look himself in the mirror this offseason and work his ass off to get better, then I do think that that is a condemnation of Luka's basketball character and like could be really, really concerning about what level he is going to get back to. That being said, I agree with you. The trade, it never, ever will make sense on the Mavs part because of the approach that they took getting an older player back who still isn't better and who has more concerns about availability and Anthony Davis and shrinking their timeline like that. No, I know that you're not. I'm just saying, I know that take is going to become more popular now because of Luka's issues, and it's still wrong. And like you still would way rather have a decade plus of Luka than 3 years of prime Anthony Davis or whatever they're going to get.
100%. I don't want to act like any of those concerns about Luka weren't valid, because they obviously are with what we've seen in the past 2 seasons, but it still doesn't change the fact that trade.
I do want to talk about what's next for the Lakers, because I think that you were hitting on it. There are 2 very clear needs for this team. They absolutely need another good 2-way wing. That's what I thought time and again when Austin Reeves is struggling on both sides of the ball. Like, if he is not going to be a productive offensive player because he's overwhelmed physically, you need to have a guy out there who can defend at a higher level, who can switch, who is not another target to be exploited, who can be a more impactful team defender to cover up for Luka's issues. And obviously, they did not have that guy on this roster. Well, they had a couple of them in DFS and Rui Hachimura, but they had to play them 40-plus minutes a game because they had no playable bigs. They needed every minute they could get out of those guys. And then you might turn to Gabe Vincent, who they played more in this game, and he's a solid defensive guard, but he's still small and obviously not nearly the offensive player that Reeves is. They could turn to Vando some, who's a really good defensive player and has an excellent motor, plays with his hair on fire, but is so limited offensively. Like, they needed to have multiple options they could turn to, and they didn't. And their top 3 player was actively bad, really on both ends in this series. That kills you in today's NBA. The Timberwolves are the exact opposite of that. They have so many guys who they can turn to. So that's where the Lakers really need to improve. Obviously depth, but specifically getting a 2-way wing. I would say ideally more of like a true point of attack defender, because I think that DFS and Rui and LeBron, they all collectively do a pretty good job with the backline stuff, being super active as helpers. I want somebody who can stay in front of guards at a higher level. And then obviously they need a serious big. Like, you cannot attempt to play a series against a team that has 2 awesome bigs when you have 0 rotation caliber bigs. So I do have a trade idea since it's that time of the year. What if they traded Austin Reeves for Walker Kessler, Taylor Hendricks, and a 2nd-round pick? Is that enough to get back for Reeves? Would Utah do that?
Yeah, what's in it for Utah?
They get Austin Reeves, who I do think is pretty sick. And if he's not in a defensive backcourt with Luka, then I'm a lot less concerned about it. It's just, I don't think that you can really put a high-level defense together with those 2 as your point of attack.
I don't think
defenders.
you can. I don't think you can either. I would not do that if I was Utah. That's not enough for me.
Okay, but you think that would be good for the Lakers?
100%. If you can get a guy like Kessler, I'm selling the farm for Kessler. Like, I'm willing to give up a couple role players if that means I can get him. And you tell me what you think about this.
Yeah.
Hachimura really works with these guys. DFS
he was so great tonight. Can we give credit to him? Because he was the one dude who showed up in a big way.
Hachimura, man, cooking.
I love Rui. I always have.
I'm willing to shop everybody, though. I am willing to trade anyone on this roster and make
other than Luka and LeBron.
Other than Luka and LeBron, obviously.
Yeah.
But Reeves, I think, is the guy who is on a good contract, is an intriguing asset across the league, and he addresses, and I get that it's a disappointing series for him, a really disappointing one basically across the board. He is still a very intriguing asset for teams because of his skill set. Like, he's a really good offensive player. And
absolutely. He averaged post All-Star break, 23 a game, super efficiently?
And teams need that, and they would be willing to sacrifice, because the Lakers don't need any more offense. They don't need any more creation.
Yeah.
You need defense. And so I really like that for LA.
And I want to be clear, like, this was a terrible series from Reeves. This is not an overreaction to propose this, in my opinion, because the second they traded for Luka, I mentioned that, like, this was a very reasonable path for them to consider down the line, just because Austin Reeves is really good. But alongside Luka, you need to prioritize that perimeter athleticism and defense, and you don't need to prioritize the offensive creation that Reeves brings as much. It just makes it even a little bit clearer when he's as bad as he was. And then let's say that they can do that. Okay, Walker Kessler, I think, would be a huge win for them to get. He's awesome, dominant interior defender, great on the glass, really efficient finisher. Then you still have Connect, who I think is something of an asset, even though he's 24 and, like, really bad defensively. At least he can shoot the hell out of the ball. And you have the 2031 first, and then you use that to try to get that one wing. I think that is their path this offseason. We do have some super chats that I want to get to. Thank you, all of you, for your generous donations to the Nerd Sesh Foundation. Kaylee says, 1 minute before tip-off, I sent in the Discord, monster Rudy game incoming. I can feel it in my veins. Thank you, Rudy, and thank you, me. You cooked. I mean, you cooked. It's the best playoff game of his career.
Yeah, Kaylee's the GOAT, bro. She's the GOAT Wolves fan. We should have known, bro. We should
Shout
have
out.
been. She's the only clairvoyant one, man. We were all sipping on that Lakers Kool-Aid.
Yeah, for real. Supernova says, did Ant outplay Luka this series? Yes.
I would say so convincingly. And if you have Ant over Luka, which I'm probably slowly moving towards, I don't blame you. Like, God, I'm so disappointed in Luka, man.
Yeah, the only knock on Ant in this series would be the scoring efficiency, which really gets brought down by this game. And like, he was really, really bad as a scorer in this game. He goes 0 of 11 from 3, but he's also forcing some drives and struggling to finish at the rim. So it was like an F scoring performance for him in this one, but he had some great scoring performances. And most importantly, he consistently made the right reads as a playmaker. And throughout this game, like, yeah, he was struggling individually as a scorer, but they were still treating him like the Anthony Edwards who gave them 43 in game 4. So again, he created so many wide open shots for his teammates in that first half. So the scoring volume is there. The playmaking is there. And he was very solid defensively. He wasn't getting an F on that side of the ball like Luka was.
I have a potential trade.
Okay.
I don't love it, but it's something.
It's something? Right. Okay, I'll hear it.
So the Lakers send out Reeves, Hachimura, and Connect, and they get back KCP and Goga Batadze.
No, absolutely fucking not.
Not
what the hell?
I was trying to cook up Suggs, but I have no way of making the money work.
Nah, man. They can do better than that. I mean, Reeves is certainly a better asset than that. And if I can, I'm holding on to Rui. I think Rui fills his job very nicely for this team.
I think he does, but like I said, I just wouldn't.
I mean, that's not enough. KCP couldn't make a shot this year. And Goga, I love him. He's a backup center.
Yeah, I mean, but they need a backup center. Like,
I'd like them to get a starting center. I think they can get a starting center with Reeves. I think we don't need to underrate him as an asset just because he struggled so much in this series.
Well, I'm also trying to find a spot that works for Reeves, too, where he's not going to a bottom feeder like Utah. I'd like for
Reeves in Orlando would be sexual.
That's what I'm saying.
I'd love it for them, but from the Lakers' perspective, no.
I'd like to work out something that's mutually beneficial for both teams. But like I said, if I'm the Lakers front office, if I'm Pelinka, I'm not married to anybody but LeBron and Luka.
Yeah.
Throw me to offers. Show me the money.
Yeah. Another sports rant says the Lakers need a real center. Luka's better when he has a lob threat and isn't going ISO every time down the floor. I totally agree. And obviously that is probably going to be their number one priority. We talked about that's one of the two major priorities at the very least. The Mark Williams deal, obviously they end up breaking off. That could be for their long-term good just because of availability stuff, but it would be really nice to have a young athletic center like that with those sort of defensive tools and that sort of play finishing ability. So I do really like Walker Kessler. He's not as much of a vertical lob threat necessarily, but just like a really awesome two-way big.
Great defender.
Yeah, really great defender for sure. Thomas says, hilarious seeing Redick being blamed when his best player acts like he's playing in a preseason game with the season on the line. What do you think about JJ Redick and his job with this team and his future with this team, Logan?
I like Redick. I like Redick a lot. I think Redick firsthand got the full Lakers experience.
Yeah.
The grilling of the media, the apathetic level of play from the Lakers. The Lakers issue to me is a top-down issue. I don't think that is something that Redick can singularly fix. I think when your two stars, LeBron and Luka, and both of them are okay with just not playing. You know what? Like, I hate making that such a big deal, but it's like we talk about the stars and how the teams buy into their identity behind them. If it's Halliburton and the Pacers and they're up-tempo sharing the ball. Mm-hmm. If it's the Nuggets and their play style of sharing the ball, pretty basketball, working good shots to get great shots. The Timberwolves, I think, embodied that. Anthony Edwards and his relentless intensity and passion, and they all play with that. I think it's an issue with the Lakers when your two stars are LeBron and Luka, and they're okay with. I like JJ. I think he's a good X's and O's guy. I think he's going to get better as he gains more experience. And for the most part, I like his game plans and the stuff that he employed. The stuff in game 4, I didn't like where he played his entire starting 5, the entire second half. That's the only real issue that I disagree with, but he for sure got the full Lakers experience, man. I feel kind of bad for JJ because I feel like he's going to get cooked in the press room by the media and stuff like that. And I think it's more of a roster construction issue that the Lakers didn't do, go on a run or anything like that. Like I don't feel like JJ failed this team.
Absolutely, dude. When they made the move for Luka, I looked at the roster and I said, yeah, this is not a team that's going to make a deep playoff run. They're going to be a first round exit. And then again, I talked myself into, they can win a playoff series. They can win 2 playoff series. But absolutely, this was an issue of roster construction. There weren't adjustments to be made for JJ. Like they had to stick to one basic defensive principle. They could make some little alterations to it in terms of how aggressive they are sending doubles compared to just aggressive gap help. But like, they were never going to be able to really stay home on shooters and like play Ant more one-on-one because they just don't have the defensive personnel to do that on the perimeter or on the back line. They have to be this super switch heavy defense that again, basically just tries to muck up drives and you have that sort of collective helping in the paint. And then offensively, when you don't have a playable big, like there's really not much versatility there. I do think at times it would have been nice to see them just run some more actions, run some more organized offense, as opposed to literally just ISO ball every possession down, try to force a switch, usually with a big who guarded the Lakers pretty well in isolation. Like Rudy guarded them pretty well. Nas was totally capable. Julius Randle, I have to give credit for playing some of the best defense I've ever seen from him in this series too. So Luka is absolutely at his best when he's able to feed a big out of pick and roll, when he's seeing drop coverage, when you are able to switch, like he can definitely still beat you, but he wasn't as consistently great as a scorer this year as he has been in years past. I do think that his passing is a bigger weapon, and they were able to limit his playmaking impact in this series by, again, basically forcing him to be that isolation heavy scorer. And the Lakers just didn't have a ton of buttons to push because they don't have a roster with any sort of versatility. So there are some things from JJ where I'm like, he's damn near like Bobby Knight out there, dude. I mean, he gets angrier than any coach in the NBA, really. And that's on the court and that's in pressers, which is just kind of weird because I feel like we got a sense of his personality because he did so much media stuff and he was not at all like that. Like he's a lighthearted guy,
though,
which,
man, like I think
the job is different for sure. I mean, absolutely.
I don't know. I'm obviously not in there. I do like it because I at least see that JJ gives a fuck. He cares. Like he wears his heart on his sleeve, and to me, I don't really mind that as much. And I can trust me, bro. I'd be frustrated. I think we'd all be frustrated coaching the Lakers, man.
And I do think that he's a good X's and O's coach. I think if you looked at like some of their best individual defensive games this year, he cooked up some phenomenal game plans against Denver, against OKC in the first matchup. So he got the most out of this team. At the end of the day, it was just a team that had some fatal flaws that no coach is really going to be able to make up for. So congratulations to the Wolves, to the Lakers, man. I kind of think you should be smited by God if you lose a game when the opposing team shoots under 15% from 3 and takes 47 of them. Like I'm still just trying to wrap my head around the fact that they couldn't capitalize on that in this individual game. It's really, really embarrassing. DiVincenzo had so many great looks, couldn't hit any. Nickeil Alexander-Walker had so many great looks, couldn't hit any.
Bro,
but on average,
0
of 11.
Oh my gosh.
He went 0 of 11. Truly, Rudy Gobert won them this game on the glass and with his finishing in the paint, and put up some prime Kareem Abdul-Jabbar numbers, some prime Ivica Zubac's numbers.
Respect Gobert.
Gotta respect Gobert, man. I'm really excited to see what the Wolves are capable of, and they're going to be my favorite against whoever comes out, if it's the Warriors or the Rockets. I think it's going to be the Warriors, and I think that's a really difficult matchup for Golden State for some reasons that we will get into later.